Thank you. I'm Rocco Cross from the Grue Rume Show, and I appreciate all of you coming on the show and taking time out.
Of
Okay.
course, happy to be here.
Yeah, definitely. So, like, the first thing I want to start asking is actually, Mark, like, what inspired you to want to write and make this horror thriller? And did you go back and watch any like horror or thriller films to get you ready?
That's good. Well, that I didn't, but there were some films that I had in mind as I was writing this, that kind of helped me move it along. But I didn't go back and watch those particular films. And Silence of the Lamb was one of them. That was like how I wanted to try to get this, um, kind of like in that area,
Hmm.
um, when I was writing it, because I love, the horror film side, and more of the psychological type side. So this was perfect. What got me the idea was I was at physical therapy one time, and my therapist we were telling stories back and forth. So she told me about this story about her and her girlfriend, who they were in college, and they were doing overseas semester in Australia. They decided to go to New Zealand to do some sightseeing, and while they were there, they were driving up there on this long, desolate road, and they got tired. She was the passenger, and her friend Reagan was the driver. They got
Okay.
tired, and they wanted to go to a spot. To one of them wanted to pull off on the side of the road. The other one wanted to try to find a place, but they're in the middle of nowhere. So they're like, "Well, where are we going to go?" And they happened to see this sign, "Hostel." So they turned down this dark road and went like about a mile and a half, 2 miles off the road. And next thing you know, this house pops up. So they're going back and forth. There's anyone up? It's like 2 o'clock in the morning. It was dark, and then next thing you know, this guy appears. A tall white guy with no shirt, really, really super short shorts on, no socks, no shoes, dirty beard. So my first instinct is, you got the hell out of there. And they're like, "Oh no, we went in to the house." So I was like, okay. So now they really got my interest on it. So they ended up going into the house, and he brought them into a room, and they said they can stay there, but the house was real dingy and cluttered, and they decided that they really didn't want to go. So they were making excuses on how to try to get out of there. And he was kind of like, "Oh, how much does it cost to stay here? $100? Nah, that's too much." And then he drops the price down to the point where they're like, "Oh, okay, we really can't cover that," because he's dropping the price to the point where he said free. And so now they're trying to say, "Okay, we got to get our luggage." He's like, "I'll get the luggage." And they're like, "No, we'll get the luggage." And they ended up getting by him. They run to the car, and he's following them, walking at a fast pace. And Mary said she got into the passenger seat. Reagan got into the driver's side. She started the car. Mary said she never saw him, but Reagan looked in the rearview mirror, and there he was in the back of the car looking into the car.
Oh
And
my
she
God.
can't get the key in the ignition. She finally gets the key, and she starts the car, and they take off. So that was the initial story that I brought it to a friend of mine who's an NYU grad. And I told him about the story. He goes, "Oh wow, you got to make this into a short film." And I was like, "Okay."
Definitely.
And he says three things. You have to write it, you have to direct it, and why don't you add a splash of comedy? Because my whole mindset was, this is all serious film. When he said the splash of comedy, I was like, how the hell am I going to make this a comedy, or add the comedy side to it? And then that's when I came up with, have a white girl and a black girl, and the flip side of it is the white girl's going to do what black people do in a scary movie, and the black girl's going to do what white people do in a scary movie. So we normally get the hell out of there, and
Yeah.
when you watch most scary movies, they hear a noise, and if they're white, they keep
Mhm.
going forward. So that was the twist. And when I told my friend Rashad, about that, he goes, "Oh, that's perfect. So write it." So I wrote it. Um, and we had it tested with several other writers from LA to Canada to back to Connecticut. Black females, white females took
Mhm.
the notes down, started adding, deleting, fine tuning the script, and then once we got it where the script was right, then that's when we went forward and went into production.
Wow.
I
That
probably took
is
about 15 minutes.
that is a
Yeah,
hell of a story to
yeah.
like. Wow.
So that's where you get the based on true events, because a majority of the stuff that happened in there actually happened. So
Oh my God, that's so funny.
yeah, yeah.
And the next question is for our great leads of the film. Like when you first are reading the script, and I mean watching horror movies and thriller movies, do you both ever think like, I've seen too many horror films to know this is going to end badly, like two people going into the middle of nowhere in a hostel with a creepy man? Like, what are your thoughts when you first read the script?
I
I,
mean,
I
oh, do you want to go, Reese?
go for it.
I think that I think that my first impression with these two is that if there's anyone who's getting out alive, it's these two. You know, like they're resilient, they're best friends, they've been to school together, grad school, like they've had grueling times on their own. You know, there's a whole backstory. You know, it's a short film, you can only show a certain amount.
Yeah.
But and so I read it and I was like, oh yeah, no way in hell they're dying. Like they're going places. So that's how I felt at first. So that gave me a little spark of hope for these characters. What do you think, Reese?
I just love the dynamic between the two. I mean, to be in the circumstances crazy altogether for sure. But I'm like, oh, this is fun. Like,
Mhm.
like this is a fun experience to like as an actor like go through, because like we know this could happen very easily. But also like, how do I rely on my friend in the circumstance? Like I'm curious to keep going. Like there's so many fun things that are in the script that when I first read it, I was like, oh, this is gonna be a fun journey that's gonna
Yeah.
keep going, and I think that's important too. Like it's a short, like just like Danielle said, so like where does it go from here? Like I want to know too. Like what does Kiki do? What does Sam do? Like where do they go when they leave and they pull off? What happens to Boris? Like it's so well written that we just keep wanting to see what they're going to do next, and I'm like, I'm
Exactly.
curious too, so like that's a good sign as like as an actor when I read a script of like I want to keep doing the character. It's fun.
Nice. And is there like a certain scene that all three of you liked most, or liked filming the most?
Wow.
I had a lot of fun with production design when we walk into the room that Boris brings us into, and there's that animal butt like mounted on the wall facing Sam. And I like that scene a lot because you have the way it's shot kind of feels a little claustrophobic as well. And we're that moment where we kind of try to like, excuse me, like, let me get out of the room, and you kind of start to feel like the walls caving in a little bit. And then, cut to both of our characters running around outside, and it's just the action is so fun. But yeah, I love those little comedic sprinkled elements. And Mark and Reese, do you guys have a favorite like moment or scene?
Reese.
Yeah, I the scene where I find the two girls in the basement is really fun because I think leading up to it, I think I'm using a cell phone light, which I thought was just really cool because that's exactly the only light that's in the space. And then
Yeah.
like there are these girls, in this situation, and like finding that like the authenticity with the set design, which was really brilliantly done by Ariane. It was like she put in like tuna cans. She had like the environment there of like the smell of what it smelled like. And then like these girls look like us in terms of like, this could be us, these two girls. So like that experience was really dynamic. And I love that the set design it was really grimy down there. And that
was.
that was really well done. And to experience that was really, really cool.
I love that both our answers were production design inspired,
Right.
actually. How it really, when I saw the before and after of the cabin and the way that they built up that world, the art direction and production design, next level, amazing.
Yeah, it was funny because we went into the house part, and in the basement scene where Reese went. And when I first went in there, I said, "Okay, I'm busy doing things with my script supervisor and talking to the cinema photographer and doing this other stuff." So then when I go into the house, I was like, "Whoa!" It was like a total transformation. She did an amazing job. The
Ariane,
two, what's that?
just shouting out Ariane Gouge.
Yeah, she did an amazing job. And um, what you were talking, what Reese and Danielle said were actually really good pieces of what I thought were the best. Because that scene with the girl in the basement was, I said, I just can't leave it when they get out of the house and run to the car and get away. I can't leave it there. So I got to add this other element in there. So when we were talking about it and pre-production, I said, let me add this scene in. And then we went in there and we made it work. And then what made it even better was the ending scene, because I thought of that scene while we were filming it. I was like, okay, so they're going down the street and Reese is Danielle saying her thing, he's gonna get arrested and all this other stuff as they're driving down the street. I said, I can't end it there. So I said, I gotta add this other twist in there. So I said, let's add that twist. And then when we added it in and it was done, people were like, oh, what happened to him? And I was like, to be determined, so that was the so what Reese and Danielle said were really good parts to your question, but that ending part was something that I just thought of while we were filming them going down. I said, we got to add this, let's add this last piece to it. And then because I want to leave it out there for the audience, kind of like an open end of what they think could have happened. And the word is could have happened, who no one knows. I do. But no one else knows until it's
And the last thing I'm going to ask you is, like, where can fans follow the movie, watch the film?
So it's still in the film festival circuit. The trailer's out, but it's still in the film festival circuit. And then Reese and Dan, you can jump in at any time. So I think we're still kind of like in that part of it where it's not the short film of yet has been released. So once I get the green light, then we'll definitely release it. But because of the fact that it's kind of still in the film festival circuit, it's kind of like limited.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we're also, we're on Instagram, and we're going to be, expanding our web presence a little bit as well, and making some more announcements shortly. And I believe it's Sam_and_Kiki_film at Instagram. A lot of underscores.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see.
And again, I just want to to Reese and Danielle and Brad, who played Boris, them three, just the energy there, the connection that they had was amazing. They were like the perfect people for this part. And we did interview, we auditioned some people for it, but Reese and Danielle, they just had that energy. And then when we added Brad to it, it was like that was like the perfect, if you want to call it, like the perfect storm, where everything was gelled together and everything just worked. So to them, and on behalf of Brad, I thank them for the casting, for the crew who did an amazing job. This film is here because of them. Yeah, it's my idea. We all have ideas, but ideas are in your mind, they're on paper, but once you put it to film and your idea is out there, then that's, for me, the completion of the idea. So without them, Sam and Kiki wouldn't be here, and it wouldn't probably be in its in the state that it's in now, because we're in a good place, and we're going to move forward with this.
Definitely. Thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
It was so nice chatting with you. Thank you, Rocco.
Thank you.